Hello, I'm Roxanne Garcia with News Talk 710 KURV, and joining me is Hilda DeShazo. She is running for District 41 for State Rep, the Republican candidate. Thanks for joining us today. My first question to you is, tell us about your background, a little bit about yourself and your experiences.
Thank you, Roxanne. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. Roxanne, I was born and raised in McAllen, and I was born and raised and have lived in District 41 practically all my life. I am from McAllen. I went to McAllen schools. I graduated from Mac High along with your partner, Davis Rankin. I went on to Pan American University at the time, and then later I went back and got my graduate degree from the University of Texas Pan American. I was a high school teacher, coach, and administrator for 33 years. I worked as a public school teacher, coach, and administrator for 33 years. And after I retired, I decided to get involved more in the political arena. I ran for school board in McAllen and won my election and served one term with the McAllen School District. I have lived in McAllen all my life. I am very involved with a lot of civic activities. I belong to civic activities such as Keep McAllen Beautiful. I did Leadership McAllen. I also have been on the CDBG board with McAllen. And while I served with the school board, I was also part of the Texas Association of School Boards Legislative Action Committee, which meant that advisory committee that means that we advised the legislature on important issues that dealt with education. So I've done a lot of civic and community work here in McAllen. I was raised by a single mother when single parenting was not the norm. We grew up very, very poor. I come from very humble beginnings. My mother raised 4 children on her own. We grew up at the labor camp here in McAllen, and my mother instilled in us the need and the importance of education and giving back to our community. My mom worked as a housekeeper for several people. She would clean homes. She also worked as a housekeeper at a local hotel. But even after her retirement, after she retired from her business, a hotel business, she gave back a lot to the community, and she always stressed that to us as well. So I grew up with a very strong work ethic. I grew up with a very strong desire to be involved and give back to the community, and also to stay informed and help those that have helped us along the way, because there were many, many people who helped my mother, our extended family, being it relatives or her employers or people that she worked with and for, that helped us along the way to become what we are today.
What prompted you to run, and why are you running as a Republican?
Well, what prompted me to run, Roxanne, is one, I was very disappointed with the leadership of the incumbent. I was very disappointed with my opponent when he brought back the health care or hospital issue. It's very often that the constituents of 41, and I being one of them, we voted that issue down. We felt like it was not something that the voters wanted. We didn't want that. But yet my opponent decided that, or he didn't listen to our voices, the majority of our voices, because 59% of the constituents in District 41 voted against it, and as a result, it didn't pass. And so I felt like we were not being well represented. We were not being listened to. I think that the majority of our voices were just put aside so that this issue could be brought out up again. Why am I running as a Republican, Roxanne? Because I am a lifelong Republican. I was part of the Young Republicans back at Pan American University in 1976 when I was there. I was the only woman and the only Hispanic, member of the Young Republicans at that time. But I want you to know that I'm a conservative first and a Republican second, and I'm running on the conservative ticket. I'm fiscal conservative, and I want to make sure that our taxes remain low, that government officials do not help themselves to our tax dollars for programs and fees that we, the voters, don't want.
You brought up a little bit about the healthcare district, and I want to kind of elaborate on that. Where do you stand on creating a healthcare district, and why?
I stand against it, Roxanne, because that's what the voters have stated. I think that if such a matter or such an issue, the proposition, if it was something that the voters had approved and felt like it was something that they wanted, then that's a different issue. But the voters have resoundingly said 59% of the voters in District 41 said no, and as a whole, Hidalgo County said no. So I feel that it is an issue that doesn't need to be brought back. My opponent authored and reintroduced that bill, and I think that for 2 years after the voters have said no, there are other issues that are more concerned to the constituents of District 41 than an issue that the voters have resoundingly said no to.
What do you think is the biggest problem that we face here in the Rio Grande Valley and in District 41?
I think one of the biggest problems that we face in the Valley is jobs, employment, jobs, and education. Serving as a teacher and a coach and an administrator for 33 years gave me the experience and the background that I know what is needed of students. So I'm very concerned about employment and jobs because both of those lead to improvement. It did for me. I was able to get to where I am and get the career that I have because I went to school, because I went to college. And I tell youngsters all around, when I talk to kids, when I talk to young people, I tell them, I grew up very, very poor. We didn't have a car. We didn't even have a TV. We didn't have a telephone. But because of education, because I was able to go to school through a part-time job that I had all 4 years of college, that's how I was able to achieve the status that I have today, the things that I have today. And as a result, I feel like I'm a very good example to young women, young people, and to have them understand how important employment and how important education is. And I think those are two key issues that are very important to me as a state representative and a representative of this area in District 41.
Do you believe in term limits? If so, how many years would you like to be our state representative?
I believe in term limits as far as the voters are concerned, Roxanne. To me, a term limit is an election. I would love to serve as a state representative as long as the voters felt I was doing a good job for them. At this time in my life, I would like to serve, if I can possibly, I would like to serve maybe two terms. I'm at the age now where I would like to finally fully retire, and because of my retirement, I do have the time and the energy and the ability to serve District 41 with the time that's needed to put into this position. So as far as term limits are concerned, elections decide that.
As a state lawmaker, what do you hope to achieve? What causes will you champion?
I will champion the causes of education. I will champion the causes for teacher retirement. I will champion the causes for employment, improvement, infrastructure, and I will be the voice of the people. I think that's one of the key factors in this election, listening to the taxpayers. The taxpayers are the bosses, not the elected officials. I feel that our voices have not been well represented in Austin, especially the last 2 years, and I hope that I know that I will, as your representative, listen to the taxpayers. The voters, the taxpayers are the bosses, not the elected officials.
Thank you so much. That is Hilda DeShazo. She is running for State Representative District 41, the Republican candidate. Thank you so much. Roxanne Garcia, 710 KURV.